Welcome everyone to OnPodcast, the Microsoft podcast, where we talk about Microsoft stuff on a podcast. I'm your co-host today, Kareem Anderson. I'm joined by the world's greatest co-host,
Arif Bacchus.
and we are here once again to talk about Windows stuff. So, strap in, get your popcorn, and hopefully you have some questions, and we'll give you some insights about all the things in Windows land for the week. Starting with our Windows 11 launch, which was official. Um, we I think we started on Monday with it, and now we've seen the rollout kind of happen. We've also seen concerns start rolling in, just as with any other launch, and we'll cover those in a little bit.
Yeah, the Windows 11 actually launched one day early. The initial day was October 5th, but they launched it on October 4th in news because it was October 5th in New Zealand time. They took kind of a global rollout kind of thing to it. So we here in the States got Windows 11 a day early, and that is what we'll recap. But we'll also talk about how you could get Windows 11 if you don't already have it. There are three different ways you could download Windows 11 and we'll just speed through those really quickly for you.
Yeah, and after that, because like I said, it's mostly a Windows thing. Podcast today, we'll talk about our fast recap of the week for some of the stuff that we're covering for the Windows thing below. So, like I said, this is Windows software. We also have some hardware we're going to talk about, so we'll leave a section open for that. So it may seem like a short pod. Maybe it will be, maybe it won't. But those two major things. So we got Windows 11 launch, how to get Windows 11, and then some of these minor topics that kind of follow in underneath that, which is people being able to upgrade directly from Windows 10 to Windows 11 out of the box. So if you buy a PC now and you bought it and it still has Windows 10, say today or for whatever reason, uh, you can also jump straight to Windows 11. And we'll tell you how to get to that.
And then we'll also talk about the what do you think? We asked you guys a couple of questions about Windows 11 and the week's Surface news, so we'll just be recapping that for you really quickly.
Yeah. So with that being said, we'll just get into the news. We'll get you guys going this week. So, like we said, Windows 11 launched on was it Monday? Which, like you said, was a
Monday,
day
October 4th,
here in the States.
here in the
In New
States.
Zealand, it was it Tuesday, October 5th?
Yeah, it was October 5th in New Zealand when it launched, but here in the US it was October 4th. So The Verge put out a post saying, "Oh, Windows 11 launched a day early."
Yeah, I mean, technically they did. Technically they didn't. I guess for whatever reason they really want to hit the fifth across the world. So we all kind of scrambled to run and write our post and get our reviews out and kind of beat the what we presume was an embargo for
Yeah.
some, yeah, uh, a day early. And for what it's worth, most people got Windows 11 on the 4th. Throughout the rest of the day, we were showing people where to go get it, blog posts, things that we wrote, reviews on YouTube, things like that, and how to get Windows 11. And so far, fingers crossed, there haven't been any major stopgaps for getting the download. I know that there, prior to Windows 11 being rolled out, there was a lot of, hey, will my PC be able to handle it? Where could I get it? Can I get an ISO for those people who still do clean installs of those sorts? How do I roll over from the insider build straight into the release preview? And will I still get features for it? There's a lot of confusion, and some of that stuff is still there. So, take take caution when upgrading if you're an insider with the PC who might have previously not been able to get it. But for the most part, we haven't seen any bricks. We haven't seen anything about computers overheating or exploding. None of that stuff so far, and it's been what is it, about 4.5 days since the
Yep.
rollout. We'll give it another week, and then we can start to say we're in the clear for one of Microsoft's more successful rollouts of a Windows operating system.
And to celebrate the rollout, they actually did something pretty cool. Like we said, it was a time zone based launch. So they actually lit up the world landmarks in Windows 11 colors in the blue. So I think it was Microsoft 365 Twitter that tweeted out the picture of the Burj Khalifa building. It's the world's tallest building in Windows 11 blue with Windows 11 on it. And then they also lit up a billboard in Times Square with Windows 11 on it. And of course, the Seattle Space Needle in Microsoft's hometown was lit up blue as well. And here in New York City, they were handing out free Windows 11 quote unquote flavored ice cream. And they also mailed that out to select influencers. I saw that Richard Woods and Richard Hay were tweeting about it. And even Panos, he had an unboxing of the ice cream over on his Instagram page. So that those were some of the activities to celebrate the launch of Windows 11 now that we're in a COVID world where they can't have a grand Windows Phone launch party like they used to do back in the days.
And with that being said, I don't even know if they really want to. Remember when we had the grand old Windows Phone launch and the death
Yeah,
of the
yeah, yeah,
iPhone, and
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah,
is constantly being thrown back in all of our faces. So
yeah.
maybe it's for the best that they do a more subtle approach. For those of you who are in the States, I don't know if this is internationally. I know internationally they have different commercials, but here in the States they've begun rolling out that weird Windows 11
The one with the
commercial. In
lady walking through the computer
yeah,
wall.
fortunately, they've shortened it. I don't know if
Yeah.
that helps it or not, but the commercial is about 15 seconds shorter, so you don't get any of the Halo stuff. You don't get any of the weird walking through the App Store. Again, maybe that stuff would have been better to have on the thing than what they kind of do now, where she kind of gets sucked into the couch and then falls into an abyss. I don't know, but I said all that to say this is that they are at least rolling out the commercials uh, in a more routine fashion. You know, we thought this might have been a one-off, but this goes to the commitment for Windows 11. I do hope, my fingers crossed, that they do roll out more commercials, not just this one over and
Yeah.
over again. More commercials explaining Windows 11, some of the features, and I think I had mentioned that written online, I believe somewhere, Twitter maybe, about how Windows 11 needs to stop chasing after Apple and their Mac OS creatives and show the creatives on the Windows side. They may not be the same people who are creating tons of content for YouTube, but there are people who are civil engineers building cool bridges and being part of the Build Back Better plan or the infrastructure plan. These are people who are getting paid to make cool things, kind of chart railroad tracks and things like that, new airliners and repairing jets propulsion engines, things like that. So maybe go after those people. Maybe say, hey, I know you've been using an old Dell for however long. Here's a cool new Surface laptop that looks pretty sleek, something that you wouldn't mind tossing in a bag versus just putting a big 8-pound chunk workstation somewhere. Go after those people. So that's what I'm hoping the next round of commercials are for.
And Windows 11 is the dream child of Panos Panay, who's associated with Surface, but this is the first OS that he had his hands touch. And it's something that he was really proud of. In the announcement blog post, he mentioned this is his quote: Windows is a driving force for innovation. It's an enduring platform for each one of us to create, and it's home for over 1 billion people to do their jobs, live their dreams, and connect with the people they loved. And he really emphasized that Windows 11 is something that is a transformative experience. And like Kareem was talking earlier about, he said, to fully understand the magic of Windows 11, you must get it in your hands. The gorgeous graphics, sounds, and animations of Windows 11, along with the innovative and beautiful hardware and Surface, provides an experience like none other. So that was Panos' thoughts on the Windows 11 launch, of course, via a blog post. But over the past few weeks, we've been covering everything that's new in Windows 11 and everything that's changed in Windows 11. Basically, it boils down to the start menu, multitasking features, some gaming updates, as well as the new Microsoft Store and the performance updates. We did a video last week about what's new, and our own Cody put out his own video about everything that is new and his own opinion and his own review of Windows 11. So if you guys want to check it out to learn more about what's new, feel free to go ahead and click over to his video right now.
Yeah, and that again, that's not to minimize any of the other works that we're here glossing over. These are just
Yeah,
some of the consumer-facing things.
yeah.
There's stuff that they've done with HDR, with animations, with optimizations for screens. Being able to kind of adjust on the fly, blue light, things of those natures. The sound profile has been entirely revamped, so it's the clicks, and notification, pings and pongs are a little more soothing, things like that. Like that's a ton of stuff that we want to give those people credit. We don't know who the engineers are, but acknowledge that there is a lot of under the hood work that has been done, even though we complain that the volume rocker hasn't changed.
Yeah, there's a lot of new stuff in Windows 11, and you could head over to our site and click
Yes.
the Windows 11 tab on the top and read through all of our articles from the last 3 months. And there you go. You'll have a look at everything that's new and change in Windows 11, and even some rumors about what's coming next. We would
Oh,
love
and
to.
one,
We would
yeah,
love
go
to
ahead.
rehash everything here for you on the show, but we would be sitting here for probably 6 hours to get up to speed with all the Windows 11 news.
One thing that we're kind of proud about is that we did recently did a roundtable. We do this normally for
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
big releases, so please go check that out. You can kind of get a view of our personalities and what we thought about the Windows 11 rollout. We've been insiders. You've probably been insiders. You probably have opinions just like us for the last 4 months, and you kind of get an overview of what we think. I'll give you a brief sum up for mine. Is that it is nice but needs work. What would you? How would you sum up yours?
I basically said it is nice and the nicest Windows since the Windows 7 and Windows Vista Aero Glass era. But I also did acknowledge that, yes, there is some controversy and yes, there is more work to be done. But this is the start of something new for Windows and for Microsoft, especially with panels being in charge of both the hardware and the software now.
Yeah, so go read about Lawrence and Brad's and Kip's and Robbie's. And so, again, tons of Windows information. Moving on to the next topic, because you've heard us talk about it, you're probably interested. How do you get it? You can get it pretty easily, actually. Microsoft's made this process pretty easy. I wrote a piece about it, and the first question you want to ask yourselves is if you have the time to get it. Not that I'm saying that this is a super long download, but it is more than just clicking the update button for some people, especially with older hardware. Microsoft has released a Windows Health Check app, I believe. You can go grab, and I have it in my post, and maybe we'll put it down in the links below, where you can go download it. It's a quick exe download, and what it does is just kind of scans your system. Takes about 10 seconds, 15 seconds to let you know whether or not you're good to go for the download. And the cool thing is that once for those of you who are good to go, it gives you a link right within the app itself to go get the download from directly from Microsoft. Again, you don't have to fiddle around with the settings menu. For those of you who are insiders, you already have the latest one. You're going to be moving on to the next branch whenever the next build comes out. So don't worry about that. And for everyone else who are just normal people for the release channel or beyond or regular channels, just go to your settings menu, hit your update check, and you should be seeing it show up there. Uh, that seems to be the easiest one. There are some caveats for people who do have systems that don't meet the requirements, but if you feel like your system's less than 3 years old and for whatever reason TPM that or 2.0 isn't turned on automatically, you can either go to your manufacturer's website and get a BIOS update. I think they're working in conjunction. They may not all be out ready right now, but keep going back. So if you need to go to Lenovo, Dell, HP, Asus, Acer, go there, go to the driver updates, and maybe there's a BIOS that'll automatically turn on. For those of you who can't, I believe Microsoft offered a workaround as well, and I think you wrote or you added that to my post about that one.
Yeah, your post covered the three different ways that you could get Windows 11. Obviously, the best way to get it is through Windows Update because Windows 11 is rolling out just like Windows 10 featured updates did. It's quote unquote a phased approach, which means that they're testing it for your hardware and everything that you have to make sure that it's ready and there won't be bugs. But if
And
you're
this was
really
done. This was done for Windows 10 as well, so this is
yeah,
nothing new.
but if you're really excited and you really do want Windows 11 without waiting for it through Windows Update, again, as your post said, you could get it through the Windows 11 Installation Assistant, which is
There we
a
go.
new tool that they have over on the Windows software downloads website. And through that tool, you could run all of the checks and just click a bunch of buttons, click Run, and you get your PC up and running with Windows 11. But there is actually some fine print here too. Now, on that same page where you download that tool, Microsoft does mention that you could use the Windows 11 installation assistant to download Windows 11 on unsupported PCs, and you can do that through a registry hack. And this is something that they mentioned previously. We were saying that it's something that you shouldn't do, but Microsoft, again, in the fine print, they say you shouldn't do this and you should have compatible hardware. But if you really want Windows 11 on something that doesn't have TPM or the right CPU, you could do it. by following the registry tweaks that they have listed on the page, and you'll be good to go. And then finally, there's also one final way that you could get Windows 11, which is through the ISO file. You could download the ISO file, create it on a USB, or just mount the ISO and upgrade any PC to Windows 11, which is what I did on a 13-year-old ThinkPad that was running Windows 7, and now it has Windows 11 on it. So there you go. That's a summary of all the different ways that you could get Windows 11 right now if you want it.
Yeah, you're about 95% guaranteed to get some version of
Yeah.
Windows 11.
Yeah.
So it's out there. And again, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments or reach out to us on Twitter, and we'll see if we can walk you through it or maybe point you in the direction of somebody at Microsoft who can.
But I did miss one important thing, which is if you are using Windows 11 on unsupported hardware, you are not guaranteed to get security updates or the driver updates or the other firmware updates that you normally would get if you do it on a supported device. So that is something really important to point out if you decide to use an ISO or use the media creation tool or use the installation assistant to get Windows 11 on an unsupported device.
Yeah, this is basically to hold you over until you go get a
Yeah.
new device.
But that said, I'll let you get into our fast recap, and I'll put 10 minutes on the clock to get through our fast recap because we really want to get to our Surface segment in a bit.
Yeah, that's a fun section. Starting off, we have our Windows upgrade to Windows 11 out of the box experience for people who are starting up a Windows 10 device. So you go out to the store, you go to Best Buy today, you pick up an HP Elite, I believe, and it has Windows 10 on it. If it's connected to the internet, which most devices are, connected to your internet, you'll get a quick update that'll basically run the installer for Windows 11. So you'll basically end around Windows 10 and go straight to Windows 11 if you want to. If you don't, you may want to just start the install for Windows 10 sans internet, go through the entire process, and then turn on your internet. I believe that Windows 11 may be still waiting for you once you're done, but you don't have to install it or download it, I believe. So that's for those of you who are just in the weird uh, rollout phase of Windows 11 right now, where it's still hitting devices and manufacturers are putting out new devices on the shelves. I believe we wrote on our website a list of new devices that have
Yep.
already been Windows quote unquote certified that should be hitting shelves pretty soon. But obviously there are hundreds of variations and configurations of Windows devices that are currently out that are all been set to Windows 10. Some of them have even been set to Windows 8 for whatever reason still.
Yeah.
I'm guessing for business reasons. But again, you can basically see the cool new out of box experience for Windows 11, even if you get a Windows 10 device off the shelf. Also, just be aware if that is what you buy, if you bought the device for specifically Windows 10, again, maybe start setting up offline first.
And you'll also get Windows 11 on Windows Cloud PC now, Windows 365 Cloud PC now too as well. And I know this is something that you wrote about and you covered.
Yeah, this is basically for IT admins. This is just a cool, quick way to roll over your provisions all the provisions, all the work you've done to set up the cloud or the VMs for Windows 10 can now be rolled over to Windows 11. And I believe you do most of that through the Microsoft endpoint. So again, it's fairly easy to kind of, uh, at this point, if you want to be early adopter, roll over your provisions from Windows 10 to Windows 11. Again, this is through for Windows 365 Enterprise support for Windows 11. Some of the other things you get from that, I believe, is that you will, let me make sure I get this right. Uh, you get some of the background changes. This is to let users know that their cloud PC is now Windows 11 enabled. And it's just really the background change. Windows 10, their wallpaper was the Windows icon, basically
Yeah.
the branding.
Yeah.
Now they have that flower, that bloom, or whatever, and you'll see that once you start up your new device. So users will know that I have a new setup. And this will be done for the VM version as well. Aside from the background, you also get tie-in supports for Microsoft Endpoint Management from Windows 10 to Windows 11. Admins can also take a little bit of comfort knowing that the new security systems or installations will come with Windows 11. So you'll get support for the new UEFI, secure boot improvements, and it'll enforce TPM. So, if you need to go tell your boss or whoever's managing the company's uh, devices that, we need to set up TPM, this is something that you can kind of tell them to do for you as well.
And we
Aside from that,
also,
yeah,
yeah.
go ahead.
I jumped you there because I'm so excited to get into the other news, which is about the Epic Game Store coming to the Windows 11 Microsoft Store. This was something that they promised would be coming a few weeks ago, but now it's official. So it's the same installer that you could find on the Epic Games website, but it's now available from the Microsoft Store itself. So you could download games like Fortnite, Far Cry 6, Wonderlands, and their whole library of Epic Games titles now is just a click away in the Microsoft Store. And that's one news about the Microsoft Store. And the other news is about the Disney Plus app, which is now available on Windows 11. Now, I'm not subscribed to Disney Plus, but I did download the app just to see like what the UI looks like. I know you're subscribed and you use it. Do you have anything you want to add really quickly here?
I mean, it looks just like the PWA.
Yeah.
I did it the old-fashioned way as of 4 months ago, where you would just basically go to
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
browser, go to Edge, and then install it as an app. It's very much the same. I do believe that they're going to have some new tie-ins in the future for stuff like that, where in I believe the what do you call it? Movies and TV app or whatever it becomes the new version of that will then just initially trigger that. So, it'll feel like a more native app and just, kind of a web wrapper. For your movies anywhere or anything like that, that trigger any kind of Disney content, it should open up or launch the app natively. So that should be coming soon, I believe.
And the final story here in our fast recap, it happens to be a bug in Windows 11. People were complaining about how their CPU performance with Ryzen CPUs in Windows 11 isn't quite the same, and it's something that AMD and Microsoft acknowledge. You could experience up to a 15% drop in performance if you have a AMD processor and you upgrade to Windows 11 when you're doing gaming, and this is something that AMD and Microsoft are looking into. So if you have a AMD processor and you're a gamer and you're upgrading to Windows 11, you might want to reconsider your upgrade for a bit or at least roll back to Windows 10 in the meantime.
Yeah, Microsoft and AMD are having some issues as of right now, but we expect them to get sorted out. And I believe in new devices, we'll start seeing configurations with more AMD support in the future.
They also had a bug about the how some people were upgrading to Windows 11 from Windows 10, and the old Windows 10 start menu was still there, as well as the old Windows 10 taskbar. But it's only a couple or like 20 or 30 people or so. I don't think it's something that everyone is experiencing to say that it's Microsoft's fault. But these bugs and quirks are expected in the initial rollout, like we said earlier. So if you're upgrading this week, just be a little cautious because there are bugs out there and there are issues you could come across if you decide to adopt Windows 11 early on.
I feel like this is just Stardock sabotaging people. They're like putting their they're putting their app
Uh,
on there and be like, "Oh, do you want to stay with Windows 10? Got my eye on you, Stardock."
And we also did a poll about you to hear what you guys think about the week's news. And the first of this relates to Surface devices. And we asked you, did you buy a new Surface device this week between the Laptop Studio Go 3 or Pro 8? And we had 18 votes, and 83% of people said no, they are too expensive. And 16% of people said yes, Laptop Studio, which is like two people, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. The devices are more expensive this year. I believe everything's gone up except for the Pro X, which is the one you left off. I believe that's the one that dropped by $100. I
Yeah.
even think that the Go 3 might have went up, if I'm not mistaken. So, uh, this is kind of the cost of innovation and R&D for at least the two other devices. I don't know why the Pro or why the Go went up, but when it comes to the Surface Laptop Studio and the Pro 8, Microsoft obviously sunk some R&D cost into fixing updating the chassis, rounding the corners, updating the screen technology, all that kind of stuff. And so these first generations are going to be a little more expensive with the feature sets that you get. Hopefully, with the Pro 8 Plus or Pro 9 and a Surface Laptop Studio 3, we start to see that those prices coming back down to where it makes sense.
And our second question is relating to Windows 11. Did you upgrade any of your PCs to Windows 11 this week? We had 27 votes, and this was kind of close. 51% of people said yes, more than one PC, and 48% of people said no, I am waiting it out.
Well, see, that's a good question. I wonder if the nuances that again I would think our audience are insiders like ourselves. So if you say no, you upgraded, but not this week, that's a no for you, regardless of whatever the rest of the sentence is. So I wonder if a lot of our viewers have already upgraded, and the question meant nothing to them. They just answered it for the hell of it.
Well, that's always expected with these polls. You only could put so much in the
Right,
answers on
exactly.
Twitter
Yeah.
anyway. So now the third question. If you upgraded your PC to Windows 11, how did you upgrade? This was retweeted by our friend Richard Hayes. So we did get a lot of feedback on this one. We had 30 votes, and the choices were Windows Update, Installation Assistant, or Media Creation Tool. Top choice was Windows Update. Second choice in 40% was Installation Assistant. And in last place at 16.7% was the Media Creation Tool.
See, I think that's where we have to go. I think when we do like the your previous question, we just gotta give them a third option. Like, nope, already an insider. We'll see like 100%. Check that one. Yeah, I mean it's good. I'm glad people are finding ways to get the new version of Windows 11. Like I said, it's cool. I am looking forward to the future of Windows 11. I like what I see so far, but there are some things that I'm like, hey, let's get on the ball. Let's keep this going. Let's get the next round of updates.
And next round of questions is, did you have any bugs after upgrading to Windows 11? We had 23 votes, and 60% of people said no, it's all good, and 39% of people said yes, some issues. So there are some people who had issues, but the majority of people had a smooth experience.
Yeah, as you said, there are some oddities that can still happen. Again, most of this is Windows 10 code based. They've just changed some of the UI stuff. So uh, I wonder if by bugs, is it just UI inconsistencies, things that they're used to be used to, or things that are just actually slowing down the device? I know I think we had written about the memory leak from
Yeah.
a few days ago. I believe a lot of people are covering it. This is something that's happened to a few people, not a wide ranging amount of people, but it happened to me. I got it fixed by actually reinstalling the most recent Insider build, and it kind of went away after that. So, uh, and what that basically is that the File Explorer, if you open it and then close it again, it will just continue running. The memory will be run in the background. If you open more than one or two instances of it, it will leave those however many you left open originally and just drain your memory. So you might start seeing some jitter, some stuttering, and you won't know why, but that could be it. And there are several solutions on how to fix that online if you run into that, but it's a small amount.
And final question, we asked, have you tried upgrading an unsupported PC to Windows 11 with Microsoft's workaround, as we described earlier, or via the media creation tool? And this had 28 votes. 64% of people said no, didn't try it yet. 28% of people said yes, I tried it and it worked. And 7% said yes, I tried it and it failed. So there are people out there who actually tried the workaround and got it working.
Yeah, there are people who trust in Microsoft, and I commend all of you. I feel sorry for some of you where it didn't work. Hopefully, you will try again, and it might work around this time, or you're in line or in queue to get a new device. Like I said, it's awesome, but don't feel bad. It's a lot like Windows 10 if you can't get it. I believe some of the UI stuff is actually going to be in the inbox apps. So you'll start to get a flavor of those stuff coming down the pipeline. The store, I believe, will also be backported as well. I don't know how soon they'll get around to that, but you'll start to see the UI design and some of the UI capabilities, the functionalities of Windows 11 in the store on Windows 10. So, excuse me, you're not missing out too much, at least of the Windows 11 party as it stands right now.
And that said, time to get into the hardware party.
That part you're missing out on. We're all missing out on that one.
Yeah, we're gonna get hands on here with the Surface Pro 8 as well as the Surface Laptop Studio. The Surface Pro 8 was provided by Microsoft to me to review Windows 11 for my other publication, and I ended up getting the Laptop Studio as well on my own. But now I have two of the hardwares here that I want to get through.
Moving
But
forward.
you you'll have to bear with me while I set up my camera and my mic.
Well, I think he's setting that up right now, and I think his camera and his microphone went down. As he's
Yeah,
doing
I
that,
muted
though,
myself, but I was telling Kareem to get started with the introduction about what I'm gonna show off.
yeah, yeah. So, like he said, he's got the Pro 8, and he's got the Surface Books, or Surface Laptop, excuse me, Surface Laptop Studio. And I believe I've been asking the questions all week about it, just because I'm jealous and I'm curious. And I've asked him stuff about the refresh rates, because I'm super interested in that and how that affects battery, how the batteries have been going. He's been on Twitter, I believe, kind of documenting a lot of this stuff. So follow his Twitter if you want to answer if you want the answer to some of those questions. The other thing I've asked him about is the weight. I know that both the Pro 8 and the Surface Laptop Studio come with a bit of girth. I believe the Pro 8 is a little bit heftier than the Surface Pro 7 and might be around the same weight as the Surface Pro 7 Plus. And it doesn't mean that they're super heavy, it's just that they're noticeable. I also believe that there are magnets in both the Surface Pro 8 and the Surface Laptop Studio, which help keep the lids connected to the decks. So if you have the Surface, if you have the Surface type cover, it shouldn't flop off the screen as easily as it used to. So we'll see if he demonstrates that. The other things I've been asking about, actually, and this is what I found really interesting as far as the coverage for a lot of these devices, is that no one's done any reviews about the video editing capability so far. Some people have kind of mentioned, how beefy the GPU is, and they've all kind of run straight towards gaming for that. So you'll find on the internet a ton of ones about if it can game or not. And for moderate gaming, it seems to be doing okay. But I'm more interested in whether or not it can export files, how quickly it does it, how fast are the read and write speeds, plugging in SD cards or external SSDs, how quickly does it get all that information done. How many layers can you add to a Photoshop file before it starts to stutter and jitter? So hopefully over the next week or so, we'll start to get coverage, and I can ask Eric these questions. If you're interested in those, again, ask him on Twitter. But these are the kind of things I would rather see than like, can I run the same Tomb Raider game that everyone seems to be running on these to say, oh, I can get 45 frames per second on a consistent game.
And I'm back. Do you hear me fine?
Yeah, yeah, we can hear you. Thanks for coming
Yeah.
back.
Do
I'm
you
sure
see
everyone's
me
tired of me
here?
talking.
I put the laptop studio first on the table. Hopefully it looks good. Everything looked good there.
Yeah, we're seeing you just perfectly and hearing you loud and clear.
All right, so this is the Surface Laptop Studio. First thing I want to point out is it looks like a Surface Pro from the top because of this little divide here, but that's for the hinge. And another thing to point out really quickly is the hump on the bottom, which
Mhm.
everyone seems to be complaining about. But as I put it down on the table, you don't really notice it. It's
Yeah,
not that's what I said in my unboxing. It's on the table, it's on your lap. You don't notice the hump, and the hump is there to help with the cooling while you're gaming or while you're pumping out video files or while you're in Photoshop.
yeah, yeah. A lot of people had questions when we saw like the early first impressions when they first rolled it out, and we're like, "Hey, it's got this weird pedestal pivot thing on top underneath." But as far as all the reviews I've read about it, most people say it kind of blends into the background, especially when once it's open and you start to get that like visual feel of like a MacBook or something. Like you really don't even notice the bottom. So, have you found that to be true in your review of it or your
So far,
testing?
I don't notice it. It doesn't bother me much. I mean, look, it's not that thick. Let me bring over the Pro 8 here just to show you the thickness difference. I don't know if you could see between the two, but
Yeah,
it doesn't add that much to it. It's not that thick. It's not a
right.
big deal. It's not a big deal.
Speaking of the fans, though, have you been able to push your device to kick them on? How loud are they?
I did some flying in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and they didn't get They didn't get too loud. You know, when you're encoding something on an old Surface Pro or a Surface Pro 7 or the Surface Pros that have the fan, you hear that whirring noise. It's kind of the same thing. It's not too loud, but it's also loud. But it's not something that sounds like an airplane engine. It's not too noticeable.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think the other question, I think people are just going to see it. Why don't you crack it open? You probably
Oh,
want to show the
I
person.
do want to mention the pen
Yeah.
on the bottom too. That was another thing that's special about the device is there's a little magnetic cubby here where if you bring up the Surface Pen, it will attach to it right there for
How
easy
strong is
storage.
how strong is that magnet? Could you
You could
shake
you could
the?
you could see it. It doesn't go anywhere. It's very,
Okay.
very strong.
The other question I think people had too. I mean, it's not a super. I mean, it's a niche question, but I know that the DPI skills are different for the laptop studio and the Pro.
Right.
Uh, do you really notice it at all? As far as clarity and how nice the screen is, anything like that.
I'm someone that changes my scaling to like the lowest possible setting so you could get the maximum out of the screen. So once you do that, you don't really notice the pixels and the DPI that people seem to be complaining about. They just leave it on the default, which I think is 150, and
Yeah,
everything
it's
looks
super.
so huge. But if you turn down the scaling, it looks a lot better compared to if you have it everything so huge and so big on the screen. But I just
Okay.
turned it on. If you could see the full thing there, can you?
Yeah. Yeah, we can see it.
So here we go. It's on now, and it has a Windows Hello webcam up there, and it just signed me in. Didn't even touch the
Great.
keyboard. See how quick
Nice.
that was?
Yeah. Next question I would think some people might have is the trackpad. I know that we have
Oh,
this
yeah.
new haptic trackpad. How do you compare that to maybe? I mean, have you ever tried a Mac one with a haptic in it? Is it
Oh yeah, I
comparable?
have I have a 2019 MacBook Pro which has the haptic trackpad, and this is a million times better than anything Apple could do. The
Oh,
reason
shots
why I
fired.
say that is it's kind of bigger and it's also smooth. This is smooth like you're running your finger over glass. Now, I wish I could get a zoom in, but my camera's on a tripod. It's kind of hard to see, but you might be able to notice it. Let me just lift it up. See right there.
Yeah,
It's very big, and as you roll your fingers over it, it's very, very smooth. And I love the way that it feels. And the special thing about the haptic trackpad is you're not stuck with the settings that Microsoft gives you with that. You could go into the settings app here, and then you search for trackpad, right? Where's it? Trackpad, right? And then there's a haptic touchpad feedback section here, and you see it says intensity,
hmm,
touchpad intensity right there. It's set to the lowest by the default, but if you move it all the way up, that changes the way that this feels. So it feels more like a traditional trackpad would. And it's something that I really like about the amount of customization that you could get out of it.
cool. I think I have a couple more, like two questions for that one. Then you move over to the Pro if you want to. But how's the typing experience? I know that they're using a new keyboard, and I remember the Surface Book keyboards are a little mushy, like softer.
Yeah.
Are these more like the Surface Type keyboard cover keys, or somewhere in between?
This feels like a combination of the type cover keyboard as well as the traditional Surface laptop keyboard. It's not mechanical like gaming laptops have those clicky mechanical keyboards, but as you touch the key, it kind of feels like that underneath the key because you get a nice clicky feedback on it. But
Mhm.
and it's really 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 nice to type on.
Okay, and then my last one, I believe, and again, everyone else can ask you questions later on. Is this is what is this day two and a half, three battery life? What are you getting?
Well, first day, like you and I were talking about in the chat, I kept the screen on 60 hertz and the brightness was at 38%, which is usually what I keep my screen at. And I had the setting here for the display. Let me show you this display. There's a checkbox under the brightness here for I don't know if you could see it. Trying to do my best. It says improve battery by optimizing the content shown and brightness. And then there's another checkbox for the display automatically changing lighting conditions. I
Hmm.
unchecked those and I used my Surface Laptop Studio regularly for web browsing, YouTube, multimedia, some light gaming. And on 60 hertz, I got around 7 to 8.5, 9 hours. And today I switched it up to 120 hertz and I got around same thing. So it's not much of a big difference between switching the refresh rates.
Okay, and last one, you got to do the trick. You got to show us in what is it, studio mode. How often have you used it?
Mainly, like I said in my initial hands-on post from today, no, yesterday, I've been using it as a laptop, which is like this right now. But the thing that I've been using it most as, like as you can see here, is in this stage mode where you have the screen down like this. I go into this mode and I'm looking at YouTube. I'm scrolling through my Twitter. I even have my Twitter app pinned here. I go to my Twitter, make this full screen, and I go through all of my timeline like this while sitting in bed or sitting in my laptop. That's what I use stage mode for the most, as well as looking at YouTube videos and other multimedia. Because in stage mode, the screen is right towards you, and you're getting all those crisp pixels, and you're getting the brightness, and you're getting everything full screen. It's so personal, just like how panels put it, and it's so beautiful. But that's the other way that I use it. I haven't really done inking as much. I could do that for you right here. So again, how this works is you don't push it. You do this and you pull the screen towards you like this with two hands, and you pull it down, and the magnet here will attach it. And then if you pull it down once more, it goes down like this all the way into the studio mode. And then it's kind of flat, but they have these sides on the, you could see it there on the edges. And with this mode, you could do your drawing. And in this mode, it kind of feels just like using a Surface Pro 8 would flat on the table. But the differentiating factor with this is the screen. I feel like the screen on this is one of the brightest and the best contrast and the most vivid that they ever put out on a Surface. Just looking at it while I'm web browsing, it looks different compared to any other Surface device I've used. It's so vivid and it's so realistic. And especially when you pull up files that have a lot of colors, like fresh paint, like drawing in fresh paint here. If I could open it, you notice that things are a lot more vibrant and it's a lot more fun when you're inking, and it's more immersive. That's
Hmm.
that's one thing that I really liked about using it in the studio mode.
That's good. Well, I mean, I know that neither one of us are real artists or whatnot, but hopefully we'll have
Yeah.
someone on soon that can give us the highlights of both the Surface Laptop Studio and the Pro, because I know you haven't really had a chance to review the Pro as a device itself, so we probably won't get into that. But hopefully, sometime next week we'll be able to compare the two, and then compare them to previous models like the Pro 7 Plus and the Surface Book 3, as far as the inking is concerned, or even just image editing in general.
And one thing that I neglected to mention is the Surface Slim Pen 2. It now has support for the haptics, and the haptics are built into the pen right here towards the bottom. You
Hmm.
feel a little vibration motor, and when paired via Bluetooth, I need to attach the pen to get it paired back quickly here. Let's see, it's paired there now. You take out the pen and you get a little vibration, and it lets you know that, oh, your pen is now ready to use. And if you open apps like OneNote right here, and you do your drawing, the pen tip will vibrate, and it feels so amazing. It's like you're putting pen to paper here, and that's something that's really special about these new Surface devices, is the way that the Surface Slim Pen 2 feels when you're writing on the screen like this.
Yeah, I heard that they've put a lot of work into it. Uh, I mean, again, I'm not an artist, but I would love to get my hands on one. I've been using the old. I haven't had the Slim Pin one. I've just been using the old original one. So uh, maybe when I upgrade my device, I'll grab the Slim Pin two as well.
You could also go into the pen settings on the laptop studio and the Pro 8. You go to pen and Windows and ink settings, and then here tactile signals. There's a little slider for intensity. If you move this all the way up, that's when you get the true pen to paper feeling. By default, it's all the way down for some reason. And if you're
Battery,
using
maybe.
it, yeah, probably. But if you're using it like that, you won't get the true experience. But if you move it all the way up, then it would feel better. And by the way, you do need to pair the pen via Bluetooth to get those tactile signals. It's not something that works if you have Bluetooth turned off, like I usually like to do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but that's the Surface Laptop Studio for you guys. And I also want to show you the hinge. A lot of people have complained about the hinge itself, but if I do this and zoom in here to show you the top, it's fabric. The hinge is not like the one on the Surface Pro. You can see here that it's all fabric, and these are the cables that support the screen. So you're getting that smooth movement thanks to the fabric material that they're using. And it's a free, there's also magnets on the bottom here that keep the screen locked so it doesn't go flying in situations where you might pull it out really quickly or open the screen really quickly.
That's good. It seems like they thought about everything.
And that said, that is the Surface Laptop Studio. I think I covered everything, but if I didn't, you guys could let us know in the comments and I'll try to address them in my full review.
Yeah, it sounds great. I mean, I'm sure people have questions about the port situation and how you make use of that, and all those kind of things. So just keep that in mind as you review it.
Thunderbolt 4, by the way, that's something that I didn't mention. These are Thunderbolt 4 ports on the Surface Laptop Studio.
Yeah, which is exactly why Microsoft did not put the AMD that everyone kept begging for in there, because I know a lot of comments in YouTube were talking about how underpowered it is and how the potential of an AMD in there would have helped. But Thunderbolt 4 is an Intel thing, so you either get your AMD graphics in there, or you get the port that can give you eGPU or power 4K monitors with, I believe, with HDMI 2.1 as well.
And then this here is the Surface Pro 8. Now, it's not something I'm reviewing. They just sent this to me at my other publication so I could review Windows 11, but I do have it here for you to show it off really quickly if you guys Kareem wants to ask me anything about it or the experience.
Yeah, I mean, I think because it's mainly all screen, we'll wait till it kicks on so you can see what the bezel to screen ratio is truly in person. But my question, I guess, would be the keyboard. I know that they said that they use carbon fiber this time around for stiffness. Do you actually feel that, or is that just marketing fluff?
It definitely feels better than the one on the Pro X did and the previous type covers did. Now, I did have a Pro X, and I would say that it kind of feels the same way if you're considering the differences between the two. But it does feel a little bit more sturdy, especially when you're using it in your lap.
Have they advanced the Alcantara technology at all, or does it still feel like
Uh,
it might get a little dirty still?
it still feels like carpet keyboards. But yeah,
uh,
this is the screen right here. If you guys want to see how it looks like, this is the screen, and as you could see, it's full bezel all the way around.
mhm.
You have the slim bezels on the two sides here, and another slim bezel on the side there, and the top bezel is still a little bit thick, and the bottom bezel is also a little bit thick because you need room to store the type, not the type cover, the slim pen 2 right there.
It's a little blurry, maybe just the focus. But I know, there we go. I know that when you put up to the bottom of the keyboard, it actually gets rid of the bezel entirely, right?
Yeah, the bezel gets hidden when you do this. I'll do it for you on the camera. If you do this, you hit a click and it hides the bottom bezel. So it's like you have a three bezel computer.
Basically. Like I said, I'm gonna hold my questions off until you fully review it, because you're probably just gonna say, "Oh, I haven't tested that yet," or "I haven't done that yet." So the only other thing I guess is just the feel in hand. How it, I know that the Surface Pro had sort of a rounded back as well, as long as the rounded corners. This one still has is it still the square offish design? Or no, it looks rounded right there too,
Oh,
right?
it's rounded. It's more rounded, and to address your question about the weight, it's also a little bit heavier. That's one of the first things I noticed when I unboxed it when it was delivered. is this thing feels heavier compared to previous Surface devices. I guess it's because of the internals as well as the battery, but it's a little more top heavy, which is good compared to if you want to use it in your lap. It makes it easier and it kind of evens out the weight a little bit.
Yeah, and last thing too is I believe that whatever coating they're using on the back is less or is more fingerprint resistant.
Yeah, that's something that we had a call with Microsoft about the Pro 8, and something that a lot of people asked about was the fingerprint resistance. And yes, it is. Look, you see that I'm rubbing my hand on it here, and you're not
Hmm.
getting the fingerprints anymore. That was a big problem on the Pro X.
Yeah, or, I mean even the Pro 7 and 6s when they started going to that anodized black coating or whatever it was a fingerprint magnet.
And you could upgrade the SSD as well by popping out this cover here. It's M.2 2230 SSD, like the rest of the Surface, the most recent Surface laptop, and the Surface Pro 7 Plus had that same SSD upgradability as well.
So look at that, folks. You don't have to be beholden to your initial choice of getting the lowest storage device because you can upgrade it later. And I know that Amazon has amazing deals for I think 512 or 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte SSD. So if money's still a concern, but you do want the most powerful version of it, you can still make it better later on.
But they also removed the micro SD cards expansion. It's not on this, and it's not on the laptop studio either. So you need to settle for storage that you think will last you for as long as you plan to keep the device. But with Thunderbolt 4 support, you could include use a expandable storage like Thunderbolt 4 drive. They sell a lot of them now. Those small ones where you plug it in and you get the storage that way. So not a huge concern.
Yeah, no, I mean it's a very versatile device. I believe the Pro 8, as boring as a lot of reviewers have said it is, it's probably the most perfect device that Microsoft has made to date.
And then on the Surface Laptop Studio here, you some people I saw on Reddit, if you pull these feet off, you could unscrew some screws and the base comes out, and
Ah, that's how they get to it.
you could change the SSD. But considering the value of this right now, not something I plan to do right away.
Yeah, no, not until they officially released like replacements for the footings. So I remember they did
Yeah,
that for the Surface Laptop 3. You can
yeah.
basically take the footings off, but they didn't have official replacements until way later. So
And all of them have the Surface Connect port as well for charging. I believe on the Pro 8 you could use USB-C, but on the Laptop Studio, this is a beefy laptop here. You need to use the Surface Connect charger to do everything. And this is some controversy because they included the 102 watt adapter in the box, and that doesn't supply enough power while you're gaming. So if you're in a high game or you're doing something that's pulling a lot of the GPU power, it will drain out very quickly, and you would need to invest in the 128 watt adapter, which is another $100 to ensure that you're not draining the battery while you're doing GPU intensive tasks.
yeah, it's kind of shady on Microsoft's part. I mean, I get it
Yeah.
because they're thinking portability. If you're going to be flying anytime soon with this thing,
It's also
you'll
a
need
legal thing because the maximum the FAA allows is
exactly.
100 watts. So there you go.
Yeah, so for those gamers who are dedicated, you'll need to have your own setup and rig at home with it.
All right, so let me just change my camera settings here really quickly and get back to where I was before, and we'll finish the podcast.
Yes, sounds good.
Well, let's pick up where we left off, and now it's time for our week ahead segment. And there's still some Surface news that's coming up this week because, as I just showed it off, I'm planning to review the Surface Laptop Studio. So I need to get started there and do some video editing and finish playing some games, install some more games. I know Kareem mentioned that he's going to get me some Affinity subscription so I could test some photo editing as well. So that's something that I'm planning next week. And I also need to finish my XPS 17 review, which I'm doing the podcast on right now. I need to get to this, and I've been putting it off because of Surface and Windows, but I promise you guys I will finally have it ready for you next week.
I don't have as much exciting news. I am reviewing a AR set from Lenovo, so Hopefully, I'll get that one out next week. And then I also have their Legion 7i Slim that I need to give you guys a review on, which is an amazing device. They also sent me a 5i, I believe. So it's a 7 is a little more powerful, a little sleeker, a bit heavier. I should be getting the 5 pretty soon. So I got some gaming reviews coming up for you guys. And I will also be testing out editing and stuff on those as well.
And we also have some news in the coming week about Office 2021, which finally started rolling out on Windows and Mac OS. And this is the latest, as we got into a couple weeks ago, it is the latest perpetual version of Microsoft Office for consumers and businesses. And it launched on the same day as Windows 11, successor to Office 2019, and it brings new visual changes, some new productivity tools as well. We have a full post about it, and you guys could check it out if you're willing to go buy Office 2021.
Yeah, I believe that is our pod. You can find me at Mindhead1 on Twitter. Where can people find you?
ABAC Journ.
Yeah, and for all of the other news that we have, we just started Instagram. It's only a couple pictures there, but I promise to give you guys some more as Eric kind of goes through his breakdown of all the stuff that is Surface devices. So you can follow us on our Instagram, which is on Microsoft underscore official, because there was one before it. You can also find all the rest of our posts and writings, musings, editorials, reviews, giveaways, all of the good stuff on all Microsoft on Twitter. We also have a Pinterest page if you guys are into gaming that is headed up by Brad, who is very good on keeping us up to date on all the gaming news. So whatever, float your boat, we have a section for you.
And as always, we thank you guys for watching us and hope to see you again soon. Same place, same time.
Yeah, thank you. Stay safe.
Bye bye, everyone.